On today's episode, we take a look at the new Jurassic World 2 trailer and talk about our film struck Hey guys, what's up? It's Matt from What We Watched, and welcome to episode 2 of the What We Watched show. I don't know if we're just going to start saying dates or numbers, because eventually the number will get very, very big, and it might be a little bit hard to remember that. To start today's show, a new trailer for Jurassic World 2 just came out, so we are actually going to take a look at that and react to it right now. All right, we're going to take a look at this trailer for Jurassic World 2 Fallen Kingdom in 3, 2, 1.
She's tracked.
That's a T-Rex.
Okay, come on.
That's a very big T-Rex in a very small area.
Okay. I'm okay.
Chris Pratt, good job. That's an awake T-Rex in a very small area. Oh, that's a terrible noise. All right.
How many can you save?
11 species. Blue is the last of her kind.
You'll never capture her.
We thought you might know someone who could help.
A rescue op? What could go wrong?
Rescue op. That seems very Lost World-ish.
You know me.
You know,
with me.
islands
You know you can't stay
being
here.
shut down. Want to go save some. Oh!
Back your men up right now.
So that's different. In the previous trailer, she just freaked out. Oh no! Why would they shoot them? Why would they shoot? Apparently, it's not a dead.
Raptors can follow orders. You never thought how many millions a trained predator might be worth? They're gonna sell them.
Not blue. They need it for something else.
What is that thing? They made it.
This is the most dangerous creature that ever walked the earth.
What would you do with
I
them?
say we shut this whole thing down.
So it's like some sort of black market thingy. And now Blue is an action hero.
Genetic power has now been unleashed.
And then whatever that thing is, like a
Back in the
big
box.
raptor. Ooh, that was cool. And it's also bulletproof.
If I don't make it back, remember you're the one who made me come here.
Oh, Chris.
These creatures were here before.
Oh, that big one again.
And if we're not careful, they're gonna be here after.
So is that like some weird Frankenstein-y raptor? That's still a cool
Welcome
shot.
To Jurassic World.
Ooh, it's smart. Man, those are some long names. All right. Looks good. Looks good. So my first initial thoughts on the trailer are, it feels very Lost World. The whole idea that there is an island of dinosaurs that have to be rescued. This time it just looks like the island is exploding. And then it turns out that, oh no, big bad business wants to use the dinosaurs for profit. In the Lost World, I think they wanted to make a zoo. While this one, it seems like they want to sell them to, you know, mysterious, bad, terroristy people. It looks fun. My only concern is, are the dinosaurs a little bit too smart? Like, it seems like Blue is actually like a buddy cop in this situation, and the new like Frankenstein dinosaur, I feel like we kind of went that direction in Jurassic World a little bit, where like they're super smart and now we have to kind of deal with that. So it'll be interesting to see kind of, I love the humor of Chris Pratt, but I'm hoping that the humor doesn't almost make it, I mean, it's a movie about recreating dinosaurs, so there's some level of you just go along for the ride. But I don't want it to be so go along for the ride that it just, Jurassic Park in my brain made sense, if that makes sense. Like when I was watching the original Jurassic Park movies, I thought someday in the future this could happen. They get DNA, they create an amusement park for money, and then it just goes right. I could see that happening. But like, they're getting to the point where it's kind of becoming a little bit too much of a stretch, where like now you have like some sort of like black government terrorist group thing, and it's just, I don't know, and it's just starting to stretch a little bit more than I'd like. It's becoming a lot more humorous, but it does look very exciting. So I can't wait to kind of just see how it all works out, and I'm excited that we actually now have the final trailer for what actually the story will be and who the bad guys and the good guys and all that sort of stuff are. So overall, I'm excited about this movie. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments down below. And lastly, today we're going to be talking about something called the Filmstruck 4. And now what Filmstruck is, I'm sure it's a bigger company than this, but they are just basically a media, something kind of similar to us, a media company. And on Twitter, they started a hashtag called Filmstruck4, where you are supposed to talk about your 4 films that impacted your life. So if I understand this correctly, and my friend Sam Klein actually tagged me in this post, is that you're supposed to talk about 4 films that kind of define who you are or maybe made a big impact on your life. So they're not necessarily your 4 favorite films, but just 4 films that kind of meant a lot to you, and then also tag 4 more people to keep it going. So we're going to talk about my Filmstruck 4. Number 1 is also my favorite movie, not the best movie of all time, but my favorite is Inception. I remember seeing the trailer for this and being blown away. Christopher Nolan, Leo DiCaprio, 2 of my favorite directors and actors together, and just the idea of this film, and this is one of those films where I can kind of put it on at any time and just love it. The depth of the film I find great, the acting, the directing, the writing, across the board an A+ film, and so this is actually one of the films that really got me into the idea of what makes a good film. So my first one would be Inception. My second one is a little bit more shallow. It's Rush Hour 2. I know that's kind of weird, but Rush Hour 2, for some reason, in my teenage years, was like the PG-13 kind of go-to movie. Like, I think I had it on DVD or something like that, and so whenever I just had a free evening, I would watch Rush Hour 2. I had the entire movie, like, memorized. I can quote it off the top of my head, and for some reason, I just found it incredibly funny, and that was one of the first movies I remember watching over and over and over, just whenever I had spare time. Just Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker just making jokes left and right, and this action comedy, and I just found it really interesting. It's not a great film. It's not, you know, even, I don't even know if I put it in my top like 50 all time, but it was just one of those films that whenever I see it, I just watch it because it just reminds me so much of just being a teenager and that PG-13 action comedy that is still popular to this day, but I just really enjoy that film, and so that's definitely one of the major films that impacted my life. Number 3 is Sleeping Beauty, and for one reason in particular, Maleficent. Sleeping Beauty as a kid wasn't necessarily even my favorite Disney movie, but Sleeping Beauty was one of the movies that kind of got me on the idea that a good villain is massively important. To be completely honest, there's not a lot of really great things about the movie Sleeping Beauty as a whole. Aurora is somewhat forgettable, the prince is somewhat forgettable, the fairies are kind of like main character-ish, the king, the queen, all these sort of things just kind of happen. But one thing that is completely unforgettable about that movie is Maleficent. The fact that the star of that film is the person who's trying to kill a 16-year-old, and is still the person where if you go to Disney.com, you will find more merchandise for Maleficent than Aurora or the Prince or the fairies or anyone else, and the reason being is because she was a great villain. And so I would say that's a very defining film because when I was young and I watched this movie, I got hooked. When I went to Disney with my family when I was like 13, 14, we were allowed to get one memorabilia thing, and what I decided to get was I got a stuffed animal of the dragon that Maleficent turns into because I just thought she was such a cool character. And so that was really defining for me because it made me realize that, yes, we should root for the good guys and boo the bad guys, but having a good bad guy can make an okay movie into a great movie. And my fourth and final one is actually, I think it might be the newest of them, but it is Silence, the Martin Scorsese film that actually didn't get a lot of buzz, and I actually only watched it once. But one thing that it truly challenged me with was the idea that you can have a faith-based movie that asks some deep questions, some ones that really, when I was done with this movie, like for days and days and days, I was pondering these deep faith questions, these bigger scope questions, and it was a really good movie. The fact that I still can't get over this movie, that this movie from a technical standpoint, from the directing to the writing to the acting to all of that was so good, but yet made me question faith and what does it mean to have faith in something, and the balance of sacrifice versus when you should give up your, your moral rights, or when you should stand up for what you believe in versus the long-term goals. And all of these questions were just swirling and still are swirling around in my head. But it also encourages me, the fact that whenever I see a God's Not Dead 3 coming out, or whenever I see like something that is obviously very phoned in from the religious standpoint, that their goal is to make money and to capitalize on a Christian market, when I see films like Silence, it really makes me think that it is possible to make a really great film, a top all-time film that does dive into these questions of what does it mean to have faith, and celebrating things like missionaries, and just taking a deeper look at what that sacrifice truly means. And so if you haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend that you go and watch it. Be ready to be emotionally torn apart, because it is a very heavy film. It is not a light film in any way, shape, or form, but it is worth watching, especially if you are a Christian, because just to see the sacrifice that was made and what it means to truly follow Christ and sacrifice everything to follow him is demonstrated so great in this film. So that is my film struck for, and now the rule is I have to challenge 4 other people. So I'm going to do JC, Chris, Chase, and let's go with, because I'm going to be seeing him this weekend, Jason. So those are the guys that I am challenging. Let us know, either tweet us or comment down below what your guys' 4 are, and feel free to play along. If you would like to tell us what your film struck for is, go ahead and use that hashtag #filmstruck4, and play along and challenge each other, and just comment down on the video below, tweet us on Twitter, and let us know, and make sure that you tag both us and them, and just get this conversation started about 4 movies. Like I said, not necessarily the best movie or even your favorite movie, but just 4 movies that kind of define who you are as a movie critic or a movie lover or just a person in general. Well, that's it for episode 002, and we will check you guys out on Friday.